Hello, fanboys and fangirls. Welcome to episode number 18 of the Reviewpoint podcast, of course, coming to you from fanboysanonymous.com. I am your host, Tony Mango, the man who calls the shots over at Fanboys Anonymous, and I am by myself for this episode, and the next episode I'm going to be doing as well, because I'm kind of doing this on the fly. There was a leak for not only the Lucifer TV show pilot, but also the Minority Report one, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to jump on that immediately and watch those shows and try to review them and get them up for you as quickly as possible, so that way you can tell whether or not maybe you should check it out when it comes and actually has its premiere the way that it's supposed to be. So nobody else has had a chance to watch it yet, and I'm sure that some of them will, some of them won't, and we'll have varying opinions about that. And whenever anybody gets around to doing that, maybe we'll do some extra retrospective or something like that. Maybe we'll do like a channel surfing at the end of it. I don't know what we'll end up doing. Maybe we won't do anything. I don't know. Maybe I'll be the only one interested in these shows. But nonetheless, I figured I'm interested in both of these. I want to check them out. So I went ahead and I did that. And I started off with Lucifer, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do my usual review point shtick that we've got going on here. If you're unfamiliar with what that means and how this works and all, it's pretty simple. Basic rundown of what happened on this episode, and reviewing kind of like what I liked, what I didn't like. It's a hit or a miss, positive, negative, however you want to call it. I love my little puns and stuff like that, so that's why that happens with the whole review point kind of a thing. I do want to warn everybody ahead of time, there will be spoilers, so if you have not seen the pilot, and I don't blame you for not seeing it, because really, like, you shouldn't at this point, kind of, but if you haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, bookmark this, go watch the pilot at some point, whether it's when it actually debuts or if you get your hands on a copy of it some other way, and then come back and listen to this review. If you don't care about the fact that it's spoiled, then, hey, look at that, go ahead and listen anyway. So let's get right into it here. Overall first impressions, I really liked it, actually. I kind of didn't expect to like it as much, although when I did check out the trailer for this, I figured that I might be able to give it a good shot, and one of the reasons why I didn't really expect it is because I had watched Constantine, and if you've seen Constantine, I'm sure you've probably watched more of it than I did, because I couldn't get past the first episode, and that was it. Now, I watch everything that I can when it comes to comic book stuff, like, every movie that comes out, I'm one of the first people that goes to see it, except for Fantastic Four, can't blame you for that one, right? But, like the Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, the Gotham TV show, which I don't even friggin' like, it pisses me off in too many ways. I still watch that each and every week that it's out there. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of my favorite shows, etc., etc. I mean, I went through Smallville, and I tried to give that a shot for 10 seasons, and it pissed me off and stuff, but I watched it nonetheless. And when Supergirl came out, and that pilot was leaked, I checked that out too, and some stuff about that pissed me off too, but we'll do a review point of that later on or something like that. But when I watched Constantine, I hated it. And one of the reasons why is because I don't really like this side of comic books. I don't like the magic or the angels and demons kind of a thing, so it's tough for me to get behind that kind of a thing. And when you have a premise that builds entirely around that, another problem with it is you kind of have to care about that sort of stuff to an extent. I mean, you don't have to love every single about it. There's people that like the TV show Supernatural, and they might like it just because they think that the two guys, Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki, I think. I get that right. They might just watch it because they think that those two guys are attractive, or they might like the quirky humor or something like that. But Constantine was a show that seemed like it could have been cool and it could have been interesting, and I couldn't get past the acting. I couldn't get past the sort of comedy that they had there. Everybody just seemed like this gloomy, bitchy, I'm supposed to laugh and find them interesting, but I don't type of thing. And then the fact that you've got the demons and stuff, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care about zombies, and I don't care about dwarves and elves and stuff. So it's tough for me to get into that kind of stuff. And Lucifer, of course, I figured that would be really tough for me to get into. Never read the comics, never was really interested in the comics. I mean, I don't even like the side of DC where it's the presence and Dream and Sandman and like, that kind of side. I don't really follow all that stuff. So you tell me you're going to do a Lucifer show and you're going to base it off the DC thing. I'm interested, but I'm also very skeptical. And when I watched the trailer for this, I was like, you know what? This seems like my kind of thing. Like, it kind of reminds me of Burn Notice a little bit. I used to love that show. That was a great show. I definitely recommend that to go back and check. But it reminded me of that. And it also, to an extent, reminded me of the show Forever, which was, if some people might recognize it, it had the old Fantastic Four. I totally am going to botch his name, but I think it's Ian Grufford? Ewan Gruffudd? Something like that. I don't know. I'm terrible when it comes to that. But him and Alana de la Garza and the guy who was in Grandma's Boy and stuff. I loved that show. I thought it was great with the humor. I thought it was an interesting premise of a guy who basically can't die working with the cops and stuff. And unfortunately it was canceled. And I also liked the show Resurrection, which was about people who come back to life and all that. And it was canceled. And, this seems to keep happening and stuff. But this seemed like an interesting concept as well, and the tone seemed right, and the trailer really got me interested, so I figured I would give it a shot. And as I was saying, and really long-winded kind of a format here, overall first impressions, I really like this show. I think that this has got a lot of staying power, and there's a lot of reasons why. So let's just go back down like a little list here. I wrote some notes while I was going through this. Obviously, I wanted to focus more on it rather than writing down notes, but quirkiness. I did find the humor in this. At first, I was a little bit, how can I use this word, skeptical again. At first, I was a little bit wary, there you go, that it was going to be too funny when it first started off, and it was Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I probably would have made that choice too, just to do like stupid kind of a pun thing and, whatever, but thankfully, it didn't hit you over the head too hard with the humor. Like, there were parts that were legitimately funny, and I found myself not laughing out loud, because it's not uproariously funny, but I was smiling, and I was kind of chuckling and stuff, and I like the humor in this quite a bit, and that's actually going to be something that I think could appeal to a lot of audiences. Music was, pretty interesting. Choices were pretty much made for comedic effect, which is fine. They're not really getting too heavy into stuff right now, so you're not going to get like the super emotional kind of stuff. One of my favorite shows is Person of Interest, and one of my favorite things about that show is their use of music. They have a lot of like trip hop and a lot of emotional kind of beats that they really nail hard when it comes to the music. So I'm hoping that this kind of follows that pattern, and maybe their use of the music isn't always funny. Maybe they have some really emotional beats that can be punctuated really well when it comes to that. Maybe they'll have like a really cool score, kind of like the Flash and Arrow have, or any kind of shows like that. I mean, I always want a good score. So music gets a pass, that gets a hit. Quirkiness, of course, that gets a hit as well. Character-wise, all right, well, let's talk about the main guy here. Tom Ellis plays Lucifer Morningstar. Incredibly charming. I actually really like this character. He is somebody who I would buy as being the devil, which I guess that's kind of a compliment, sort of. I don't know if he would take that the wrong way or not. But Tom Ellis, he is somebody who I haven't seen before as far as I can remember. I know that he was a part of some show on USA, and I didn't check it out. The one where he was like a drug dealer or something. It seemed kind of interesting, but also seemed like it could have been one of those like alternative, I should like it but I might not, like Sirens and Royal Pains and whatever like that. I never really give any of them a chance, and maybe it's bad on my part. Maybe I should check them out. If you think I should, leave a comment below. Tom Ellis, though, he is very charming in this. He's very funny. He fits the role perfectly as far as I'm concerned. The only thing that's really different about him is he doesn't have the blonde hair from the character, but, oh well. I think it's something that you can kind of just, like, deal with, But I liked him a lot in this. I thought that he was somebody who really grounded the whole thing, and the people gravitated around him, and that's what you need in a main character, because really, if you look at this, every other character that's a part of this can leave the show at some point, and it might not kill the show, but Lucifer is somebody who the show is not only named after, but it revolves around. And there's a little bit of flexibility in this kind of a show. You can have him say, like, if the actor doesn't want to continue on, you can replace Tom Ellis and the show can still go on. Just have a thing where it's like Lucifer sort of dies, I guess, and comes back in a different form. You can do that. But I think you're going to lose a whole lot because I think that one of the selling points of this show is just Tom Ellis, period. I think that he really is somebody who's going to resonate, and I think that even if this show is unfortunately doomed to last like one season or something, he can move on to bigger and better things after this. And, you know, stepping stones, he went from that other show to this one. This could move on to a better one, stuff like that. But big hit as far as I'm concerned. And main female character here is Chloe Dancer. Kind of bitchy at first. And that was scaring me at first, too, because a lot of the characters that on the women's side of things, and this isn't stereotyping on my part, you know, like an intentional thing. It's just something that I've noticed a lot when it comes to certain things. A lot of writers write women as bitchy because they want to prove that they're not a damsel in distress. I'm always nervous about that. Thankfully, that goes away. And she's only bitchy because she needs to be bitchy at first for you to kind of dislike her, and then she wins you over. So, yeah, she was trying a little bit too hard at being tough at first, but that's what she was supposed to be doing, because she wasn't warmed up to Lucifer, and Lucifer's, you know, how we're seeing the series, so of course it's going to go through his point of view. But I like the idea that she warmed up at the end of this instead of being somebody who it took like an entire season for. Already, I like her so much more than I did at the beginning of the show, and I got a feeling that I'm going to like her more and more and more as the different episodes go by. So, hit for me as far as Chloe goes. I don't know about the story going on with what was it, Hot Tub High School or something? The movie that she posed nude for and that kind of thing. I don't know really if I'm going to dig that too much, but maybe it'll come back as like some kind of funny running joke or something. I don't know. I'm interested, so we'll see. Her daughter is another thing that a lot of times I'm wary about. If you throw a kid in something, there's always the potential that the kid is annoying as fuck and that they write them as like, aren't they so cute? And you go, no, they're not. Thankfully, the little girl who plays, blanking on the little girl's name here, it's like, Trixie is his name. Scarlett Estevez is the girl's name. She's good. And I like her character a lot too. She's cute and she is funny. And I could see her connecting really well with the different characters. So, big hit for me on that one too. A little bit of a downside and I'm going to say a miss right now for the ex-husband, Dan. He's not doing it for me right now. Actually, out of all the characters, he and, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, Amenadiel, the angel, dark angel, demon, I don't know what he's supposed to be yet. Those two are probably my least favorite characters at the moment. And hoping that changes, of course. I mean, I don't want anything to be bad, so, you know, why wouldn't I want it to be better? But they're not knocking it out of the park yet for me. Amenadiel is a little bit too, what's a good way to put this? On the nose, I guess? Or maybe he's like just not overacting. I mean, of course, I also have to say all of these are better actors than I would be. I would be terrible at it. But I don't fear him. And I think it's because I'm supposed to fear him and that he's supposed to be this tough and intimidating kind of guy. And the same thing with Dan. Like, I don't hate him and I don't like him either. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about him because he seems kind of like a dick, but at the same time, he's not bad. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot you have to pack into a pilot, and I'm going to be a little bit more willing to let them grow, but both of them, they get a miss for me on this one. I got to be a little bit harsher on that. Tell you who gets a big hit for me, though, is the therapist. Linda is the name of the therapist. Rachael Harris plays her. Rachael Harris is somebody who I've liked and I've disliked. I mean, I used to check her out on like VH1 and stuff like that. That's where I know her from the most. And she was, you know, funny comedian and stuff like that. But she really is good in this. I like her as this therapist she's got this like dark kind of edge and this like sexiness to her. And it's kind of, I don't know, there was something, you know, I don't know. I like it. I'll just put it that way. That therapist scene, too, is one of the standout scenes. I really like that a lot. That shows you a lot about the different characters, and it's when things start heating up a little bit and getting a little bit more fun because you can have some good go-betweens with Chloe and Lucifer. Oh, by the way, they went with Lucy as like a nickname, and a lot of people are calling him Lucifer. When's somebody going to call him Lou? Kind of figured that would happen at the very first episode, but there'll be Lulu and Lou and different stuff like that too. Little shout out, I'm looking at the cast list right now. Kristen Bidding, or Biting? I think it's Bidding, from Big Brother. I'm a Big Brother fan, and I didn't notice that she was in this. She's a bridesmaid in this? Huh. Yeah, you learn new things every time you check out IMDb. The other character here is Maze. Leslie Ann Brandt plays her, and I'm on the fence about her. I don't really know if I would give her a hit or a miss right now. Maybe a little bit more of a miss, because she's a little bit overacting to an extent, and trying to be something that, like, I don't know, she's trying to be the cool chick, or she's trying to be, like, the dark gothy, or she doesn't look like gothy, but, you know, like that kind of, like, I'm the edgy one, and I'm not feeling it, but she could grow on me too, so I guess I'd give her like a ricochet in the middle. It doesn't hit, it doesn't miss, it kind of hits and bounces off, but we'll see. She could grow on me too. She's gonna die though. Like, she's definitely gonna die somewhere in this. She's easily the character that can be killed off the most, it seems. And I know that like she's got a connection to Lucifer where like he can open up to her and stuff, but I don't know. I don't see her lasting this whole season. Or at the very least, this whole series, however long it goes. So, I really like the characters here. I think that they all, for the most part, at the very, very least, they were tolerable and interesting. And the ones that I didn't like as much, you know what? I'm willing to let them grow and see how they go. So, that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And let's see, characters are down. Special effects and stuff, they were all perfectly fine. I mean, it's not a special effects heavy show, and that's another good thing. I like the lack of the supernatural. I don't want to see demons constantly and have like, I don't know, like hellfire pop up 24/7 or something like that. I think less is more on this kind of a show. And people might be a little bit upset about that. They might think that it's a little boring, maybe, but I don't think so. I like it. I think that special effects were perfectly fine when it comes to that, so I'm going to give that a hit. Miscellaneous extras and stuff like that, I mean, I can't think of anything really that I need to point out specifically for positives or negatives, but I liked how the characters were interacting with one another. I think that there's something interesting about cop plus outsider cop, and I think a couple shows have shown us that. I don't watch Castle, but it seems like that's kind of the case, and of course I mentioned Forever. That's another one. But I like it. I think that is an interesting dynamic, and I think that they're going to do that well. So, all in all, I gotta say my biggest miss of the whole thing, maybe, this is kind of like, if you're listening to this, you're going to be like, really? You're going to give that the miss? I didn't like the opening title card. And the end title card, it looked cheap. And maybe that's because it is. Maybe they, are going to change that. Since the pilot is leaked ahead of time, I mean, you can't really judge it 100%. So there's possibly going to be some tweaks and stuff. But I didn't like that. I thought that looked a little bit like Windows Movie Maker. So that's going to be my miss. My biggest hit is going to be Tom Ellis. Overall, I mean, I like a lot of the different actors and a lot of the different characters, but he is the center point of the whole thing, and he sells it, and I buy it. So I like it. My general opinion, big hit here. I think that this has a lot of potential. I unfortunately also think it's going to get screwed, and that's the cynic in me that sees too many TV shows like Flash Forward and stuff get canceled, and I don't want that to happen. So that's one of the reasons also why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to get the word out there that, hey, here's another person who is cynical and can give a lot of misses to stuff, but likes this, and you should check this out for sure. If you do check out the leaked pilot. Make sure that you watch the actual show too, because the ratings are going to be a huge determiner for this one. Because if this bombs in the beginning of it, they're going to be very, very hesitant to do another thing like this. So definitely check it out. Definitely support it. Toss the name out there to your friends and family if you like it, if you watch the pilot, and, you know, get other people involved in it. Try to get everybody to get on board with this thing, because this could be fun. This could be a fun ride. So that's it, I think, for my review point of that. If you have anything to say about it one way or another, leave your comments below. Tell me what you think were the hits and the misses of this. Tell me if you think my opinions are wrong, if you agree, you disagree, what were your favorite parts, that kind of stuff. And you know what? Actually, just to spice things up a little bit, give us some predictions of what you think is going to happen on this show. Do you think that maybe Chloe and Lucifer are going to get together? Do you think that Linda the therapist is going to have a really prominent series role, or is she just going to be popping up every once in a while or something like that? What do you think about the kid? Is there going to be some dynamic with the whole parental arguments and stuff? Who do you think is going to die, etc., etc., etc.? You know, leave your comments below, all that other kind of stuff. Make sure that you subscribe to Fanboys Anonymous on iTunes, on Stitcher, and on youtube.com/Fanboys Anonymous. Give us a like, favorite, share, all the other kind of jazz. You guys know the score by now. YouTube's been around long enough. So, on behalf of myself, because I did this alone, thank you for listening and shooting the breeze with us. This has been Reviewpoint, episode 18. I'm Tony Mango, and I am a fanboy. See you next time, everybody.